Well, the team from Applied Permaculture Design provide a really good service to landholders in the outskirts of large urban centres to provide a master plan for a development of a site. In this case, it's a 5 to 7 acre site. So they devised a master plan based on permaculture principles, and they use gCADPlus to illustrate the principles and provide the client with a large number of sheets detailing every aspect of permaculture design. Well, as you may be able to see at the bottom of the screen, they use a large number of different layouts. So there's a zones layout, fencing, roads, buildings, water, landscape, and interestingly sectors where they've analysed the site in some detail, know where the preferred and distant views are, look closely at sun angles and so on. But they contacted us because they've got some layouts in here that they're no longer needed. And how do you remove a layout that's no longer needed? Well, a layout such as this only has one entity, and that's a floating viewport. So if we click on it, it's just a viewport. If we delete the viewport, then you can move your cursor over the tab and say delete the layout, whereas if you try and delete the layout here, it will say that sector analysis can't be deleted because it contains objects. It in fact only contains the one object, which is a floating viewport. So if you get rid of it, you can delete it. So it's quite easy to work one's way through and reduce and get rid of these layout tabs that are no longer needed. Well, removal of layouts in that fashion doesn't always work. If I click on this one called Landscape A and try and delete it, I get the warning message and there appears to be nothing there. But if we drag a crossing window right across, we can see it. We can find two entities there. Their colour is blue and they're on a layer called Water Stage 1. So why that appears blue and doesn't show, I'm not too certain, but we can delete them. Once they are deleted, we can then delete that layout. Well, the next question we've been asked is, how do you maintain or set up different scale factors on the one layout sheet? Well, the answer is you right click over the layout tab and add extra viewports. And I've made the viewports boundaries red and given them a thick line so you can see them, but the main part of the design is here. And if you look down in the bottom of the properties box, you can see its view scale is 500 and it's a fixed scale. So when we print this sheet out and print the whole page, we can legitimately label that part of the design a scale of 1 to 500. But notice that we've also incorporated a scale bar within the design itself. That's put not in layout space, but it's put in model space. And if we go back here, there's the 50 scale bar. So let's go back to the trees. So there's a fixed 1 to 500. Down here is another viewport with a scale of 50. It's currently not fixed, but I could fix it by just clicking in that box and toggle. The remaining two floating viewports, one shows a design for the screen belt planting around the perimeter of the property. That does not have a fixed scale, nor does the plant schedule that goes with the design itself. Each of those has been incorporated into a separate floating viewport. Of course, when we print these, we've picked them all, set their colour to white so that it will not, the border won't plot, and of course we bring the line thickness back to by layer, and there we are, one sheet with multiple scales on it. Well, the final question that's been asked is, how do you put different information in the title block on each of these sheets? So if we look at zones and we check the layouts manager, notice that it's set up on an A2 sheet, but sectors are on an A3 sheet. So you might well have, if we go to the sectors, you might well have a different title block information. But we need to be able to edit that information and change it. You might, if we select this block here that's used as the title block, it's called APD line 1, sorry, title space 1 line space border, which is a fairly awkward title name for a block and could probably benefit from renaming. But you might use that same block on several sheets, so you could edit the block by right clicking and edit the block, and that's telling me that this is a block with another block inside it, which is not good, so we'd have to edit that block again, so we're 2 levels deep in there, and we could edit any information we like in that area. But if we then close and unselect all, other sheets which use exactly that block will have the same information updated that we just put in. So the way to get around the problem is you simply explode that block, and now, because that's a block within a block, we have to explode it twice. So what that's telling me is that we really need to look at the use of blocks in this drawing and clean some of them up, but that's a story for another day. So on this sheet here, which is an A3 sheet size, so that's correct, we've got our own information. So all of the block information has been broken up, and we can now organise it however we like. So hopefully that's answered the 3 questions that this group has asked.